Welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, and today we're going to be talking about how good is your team. So the Runpreneur vlog is part of the bigger picture, which is the Runpreneur challenge, which is our fundraising mission to save the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon. So if you want to find out more about the challenge and how to support it, please go to the links in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get started. So, how good is your team? So the reason for today's episode is that I always talk about growing and scaling businesses, and I talk about the three fundamental pillars that every successful business needs. Now there probably are the odd exception, but generally speaking, in 99.9% of cases, a business needs these three things to grow and scale. Number one is systems and processes, number two is people, and number three is data. Now within reason, a lot of systemization and a lot of process building, once you have them in place, they generally can run in an automated fashion. Not fully, because that's where people are going to come into play, but once they're set up, okay, you might need to revisit and improve them, but generally speaking they run. And the same can go for number three, which is data. Once you have the data reports in place, you know, data isn't emotional, it's factual. So providing the data is accurate and as close to real time as possible, you can make decisions based on factual, logical data. Now the one in the middle, number two, people, is highly complex, and there's lots of things that can happen with people that's outside of your control that can have a bearing in a positive or a negative way for your business. So what do I mean by this? Well, you can have excellent people and they can be performing at a very low level, or you can have people that are at a low level who are performing above and beyond their expectations or your expectations. And there's lots of different things that come into play. So the perfect analogy is, I'm a Manchester United fan, okay, and for my sins. If you follow professional football or soccer, as some places will call it, you look at Manchester United's team roster and the star talent that they've got there, they should be up there with the top teams around the world. But they're not. They're performing well below their individual ability. Okay, so something's going wrong with those individuals and collectively as a team that doesn't enable them to perform at their high level. You've got other teams, like Liverpool Football Club, for example. I mean, they're Manchester United's biggest rivals. And you would say that player for player, they've got obvious world-class talent as well. But you would probably look at their roster and squad and say that it's no better than Manchester United's. But as a team and a collective unit, they're probably 2-3 times as good as Manchester United. Okay, now it's quite subjective. You could argue one player is better than the other, but I would say, looking at the two squads, I think Manchester United's squad depth is probably maybe slightly stronger. Player for player though, maybe Liverpool have slightly stronger top players, but I would say they're relatively comparable. But why is it that one team is so much better than the other? So that's the conundrum. And when I look at the team, I look at the team that works within my businesses, I look at some basic fundamentals first and foremost, because I think often getting the most out of people and a team comes down to management and leadership. Okay, I would argue that when you look at Manchester United against Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, I don't particularly like him because he's a Liverpool manager, but he's an exceptional manager. He gets the best out of his players, and the team unity he builds is phenomenal. I look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is a footballing hero of mine through the years as a Manchester United player, but I don't think he's a great manager. I never have thought he's a great manager. I think he believes and understands the culture of Manchester United, but I don't believe he's great at instilling that necessarily into his players or getting the most out of his players. I think he's probably tactically naive in comparison to the other great managers out there. But I love him as a person and as a player, and for what he's done for Manchester United Football Club. So what's the reason we're talking about this? Well, when I look at my team, there's some basic fundamentals that I'm looking for, right? Number one, communication, okay? How responsive are they? How well do they communicate with me and the other team members? Number two, I'm looking for commitment and loyalty, integrity. How loyal and committed are they to what we're trying to achieve? Okay, they're the first two things I look for. If those things are right, the third one is their level. How good are they? And how good can they be? Okay, I'm looking at those two things in particular. And if points number 1 and 2 are right, their communication's right, their commitment, loyalty and integrity is right, then as long as they've got the capacity to be at a high level, then that's down to us to develop. But if points number 1 or 2 are wrong, and they show that they cannot improve in those two, then there's no point looking at developing their ability and their potential ability as point 3. That's how I look at the team. Okay, but I always find the most frustrating thing, especially when working remotely with a remote team, is if the communication isn't there in the first instance. So if the communication's there, I then assess their commitment, loyalty and integrity to what we're trying to achieve. If that's there, I look at their level and I look at where I believe their potential level to be, and that's where the development side of things starts. But what I would say is you can give people warnings and discipline people, but you've got to get those first two fundamentals right. If they can't show those basic fundamentals, then they might not be a good fit for your team, especially if it's a remote team. So that's how I look at my team, and that's how I go about developing it. As long as I can get the first two right, I commit to trying to develop point 3. But there does become a stage that if point 1 and 2 isn't where it needs to be, you have to ask yourself the difficult question: are they the right fit for you and your business? So I hope that's food for thought. I hope that's useful. So if you've got any questions on this stuff, drop me a comment. I'll respond to everyone. Please remember that this Runpreneur vlog is part of the bigger picture, which is the Runpreneur Challenge, which is our fundraising mission to save the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon. To find out more about the challenge and how to support it, check out the links in the comments below. Thank you for your support in advance. Stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow.